Hi and welcome to Three Chickadees Farm. This is going to be the second video that I do. This is our annual garden and may go out into what will be the rest of our annual garden eventually. So we have 14 raised beds in this area. The raised beds are made out of cedar fence boards. This is the back side of our house, so the north side of our house. It only gets seasonal sun. Basically from winter solstice, the sun starts creeping away from the fence. The shade goes all the way to the fence at winter solstice, and then you slowly watch it creep back this way, and by summer solstice it's all the way back at the edge of these beds here. And then up until winter solstice you watch it slowly creep back that way. North is actually that direction. So that means we do get maybe like 2 to 3 hours of dappled sunlight that comes in as the sun's over that way. But it's not a lot. And that's why this is our annual garden. So yeah, here we go. This is a bed of basil that I just replanted. We've done 3 different beds through here. This was the lettuce bed, lettuce and radishes this spring. And then it went to beans, and when the beans were spent, we planted basil in here. I've labeled all my beds with a letter of the alphabet so that in my notebook I can keep track of what is in what, and I can make sure I'm doing a little bit of rotational planting. Rotational planting is not really such a big deal when you're doing high intensity the way that I do, because you're rotating crops through so often. But it is a good idea to know that you don't want to plant some things after other things. We have this area fenced out because I have a puppy, and she really likes digging in the garden beds. Obnoxious beast that she is, but we love her. So here we go. This is a pretty shady area, but I can still grow French sorrel, blood sorrel here. Nasturtiums are growing fine. This little fun yellow headed thing is called a toothache plant. It kind of makes your mouth go numb. Traditionally, it was used to help numb your mouth when you needed some tooth work done. Not something I would want to do now, but hey, it can help, right? So if you're stuck and you can't get to the dentist, chew on some of that and your mouth will go a little bit tingly and hopefully reduce the pain. I'm glad to have it in my garden. I'm glad to have Novocaine if we need tooth work done. Kales are doing okay here now that we don't have the ducks. The ducks were coming through and just ravaging these plants. I don't know what this plant is. It was a rescue from a school garden. More nasturtiums. They don't seem to mind the shade at all. Trying to grow trailing things up the fence here. Since we have that line, we might as well use it. More kale. Back here is a Corsican mint. These are transplanted just this year. They're Tulamine raspberries. They get huge, huge berries on them when you remember to water them. This bed is empty of everything but weeds. We just harvested the last of our onions out of it. Back there is more Jerusalem artichoke. This is the back side of where I showed you that little apple tree that we're going to espalier on the fence there. On the back there are some cucumbers. They're kind of sad this year. I don't think they like the mint. Usually we trellis them, but we were kind of slow at doing things this year. But still, I'm getting 20 pounds of cucumbers a week off that little tiny mess over there. In this bed, we have lettuce. We're waiting for it to go to seed, and then we'll move the seed over to this bed after putting manure in it. This bed will become garlic this fall. This bed we just put some manure in from a local dairy farm. It's an organic dairy farm, so we feel pretty confident. And we've seen their cows, and we like how they're treated. So this is compost that we bring in. It takes 2 50-pound feed bags to top this off. And then we'll plant in probably some lettuce and radishes and carrots in here. This bed was planted last week. Got a lot of weed coming up already. Weeds. But we planted beets in it, and we planted 3 rows of carrots. And I'm not seeing any of the carrots. I'm hoping they come up though. Seeing beets. We've got a little beet mix happening right there. And that's grass, and those are not carrot seeds. So we might have to replant the carrots again. My carrot seed's 2 years old, so that's not surprising. Back there next to our main compost bin is comfrey. Do a lot of chopping and dropping, and we were feeding it to the ducks, and I need to chop it again. A random asparagus coming up. We just harvested some seed onions. This was onions that we stored over winter. We liked them so much, and we liked their size, and they stored so well that we decided we were going to harvest the seeds ourselves and see how it worked. I'll still do some commercial seed, but I'm excited to try this. Bed of kale and cabbages. The cabbages did this really cool thing where they got a little bunch of like side heads after we harvested the main cabbage, and so we were trying to see what would happen if we just let it be, and it's getting flowers. We might try and overwinter that and see if we can get seed. This is a cabbage I just left. It's called Perel. They're like 1 to 2 pound heads. We really like this cabbage for small spaces because they don't take up the whole length of the bed to get a decent cabbage out of them. And I really, unless I'm making sauerkraut, don't want hundreds of pounds of cabbage. So this area that's bare, we just pulled all of our pea plants out of. We did 6 successions of peas. Yes, 6. We did snap peas, 2 different varieties in this 20-16-ish foot area, and then we followed it with snow peas, and then we followed it with some shelling peas, and we did 2 successions of each, and we have lots of snow peas in our freezer. Lots of snow peas went into our bellies, and I'm pretty excited about how that worked this year. This bed was garlic. We just harvested it maybe a month ago, and I'm just letting this bed sit. The garlic that was in this bed was kind of sad. Small heads, great for eating, but I was not impressed. So we're going to let it sit and probably like just let it be fallow for the year and put some more nutrients into it. This is some hot peppers. They're not doing so hot, haha. And cilantro, and we have spinach, wild spinach and stuff back in there. This is a tomato forest. Yeah. I just wanted to see what would happen if we didn't do anything to the tomatoes. Would they still produce a decent amount and ripen? I don't know what variety this is. Don't remember. I'll tell you when they get ripe. Our pickling cucumbers are on their last legs. I need to come out and harvest and probably pull them. Looks like a lot of these are big. I have 20 or 30 quarts of fermented pickles. I'm not getting enough off of this 8x3 bed to have an amount for canning. So I didn't do any canned pickles this year. They've all been fermented because I can do small batch fermenting. So that'll be a sad thing when our fermented pickles run out around Christmas. But next year I will probably plant 3 beds like this so that I'm harvesting way too many pickles or pickling cucumbers, and I'll be able to have some to can, which will be wonderful. These are all volunteer tomatoes. Don't know what they are. They could have crossbred. Oh, there's some cherry ones down in there. You can see that they're red. Most of what I plant is tomatoes. This is another bed that I just pulled some garlic out of. We're going to plant it with spinach this week probably. These are black check peppers. My husband lovingly calls them goth peppers. They are so hot. It's like a cayenne. And I just absolutely love them for drying and for putting into things. These are some jalapeno peppers, and they're sad. I don't know what the difference is between the 2 spots. They're fed the same things, but those ones are sad. Then we have some tomatillos. We just did 2 tomatillo plants back here. Yellow crookneck squash. We've got some more tomatoes to harvest. This is I think that this is our Brandywine tomato. Pretty sure. It's a delicious tomato. I had one like double softball size the other day. You can see these beasts are just huge, and this plant is really weighed down. Another bed of tomatoes. These ones are a different variety of paste that I was trying this year. They're okay. I'm getting some cracking. That could be my error. but you know, it is what it is. This area was weeds. We have a bindweed issue. Our neighbors and I, we fight this, but I don't want to spray it. So we just come through and pull it out. And then back there is a really shady area, and we just plant hostas. That's a bedroom window. So we plant hostas, and cocrosmias back here. It gets a little bit of sun in the evenings, but not a ton. So yeah, that's my annual garden area. And this plant here is lovage. I can't grow celery, so we grow lovage, and you don't want to really eat it fresh, but it adds a delicious celery flavor to your soups. And we'll head out to the front yard now. And this area is tragic, but I'll explain why in a minute. So this is our peach tree. We've harvested 20 peaches off of this tree this year, which I thought was kind of awesome. Sage, there's a spirea plant because I was given it. This is our favorite gooseberry. It has dark purple gooseberries. I think it's called poor man's gooseberry, and they are just sweet and delicious. My calendula fields, I'll be harvesting the seed soon. A cherry tree, it's not going to stay here. That's just kind of a temporary place. Ants have eaten the heck out of these leaves. So here's hoping that we can save it. There's some lavender in here, more sage, a couple blueberries that died. I really suck at like growing blueberries. It just is what it is. Then there's lavender, an Asian pear tree right there. And that's going to move too. That's temporary. This hazelnut right here is new this year. And we're going to move that to this very corner. This is like the corner of our property. And then we'll put these fruit trees interspersed among them. So the peach will stay there. There's going to be a fence that comes down along here, and it'll give us a heat unit. The Asian pear will go right in this little hollow right there. There's a currant back in there. The neighbor's doing some construction, or some remodel of his yard, so we have piles of stuff everywhere. We took down 7 trees out here this spring. 8 trees out here this spring, which is where all these wood chips came from, and they were all over my front yard, and friends came and cleared my front yard for me, and now all these lovely weeds are coming up along with grass, and we're going to put newspaper and cardboard over this whole entire area and bring in manure and turn this all into annual garden, and I'm pretty excited about it. This is the northeast side of our house here. It gets a ton of sun. We have some horseradish in here. This is pumpkin plants that have just kind of gone crazy. Rhubarb that is gorgeous, and there's a 5-foot walkway between this little berm here and the house, and our hope is to someday put rainwater harvesting system, like big tanks, 1,000-gallon tanks, and put 4 of them across the end here. But first we have to reside the house. So plans. There's 3 or 4 lilacs in here, hostas in here. There's a lot of stuff in here. Mostly it's been taken over by the pumpkins. They're all pie pumpkins, so we don't really do jack-o'-lanterns. We'll carve jack-o'-lanterns, but we don't grow the Herkin pumpkins. We want to grow food pumpkins, and then we play with our food. Alright, so what else is out here? We have flowers out here. This spring it was gorgeous. We had, just before all these wood chips came, we had tons and tons of wildflowers out here, and it was beautiful. Sunflowers and hollyhocks and clarkia, and calendula is like everywhere. I don't water out here right now except for the pots. Again, we're waiting till fall for that. And the cocrosmia out there, I will dig that and move it. We do have a corner lot. We're not incorporated into the city, but the city has plans of doing that someday because we are urban growth area. Another hazelnut. So between these hazelnuts, I will plant fruit trees, probably stone fruits like the cherries and the apricots. They can get big with the bigger with the hazelnuts, and it's not a big deal. It'll create a nice little shade screen from neighbors. Not that we don't like most of our neighbors, but you know, it's just nice to have a little bit of privacy. And then this is like the main road that goes through our neighborhood. And we have planted things that will create a bushy hedge. So dying out there, because I moved it and shouldn't have, is a rosa, it's an apothecary rose. So it's a medicinal rose. The flower petals are huge and fragrant, and they're used for making rose water. And we have pea roses, because that's a native type of Rosa rugosa that grows here. We have gummies. There's a really tiny little gummy plant in here. You can't really see it, but we're hoping it survives. It's doing okay, and if it survives and grows, it'll be amazing. And this is a jostaberry, and there's a cocoon of something on there. I don't know what that is, but that's kind of cool. I'm gonna have to look that up. We're gonna plant or put a hog panel fence here, so you'll be able to see behind it, and then plant the wildflowers down along the road and the grass out there, just so that it's pretty. And then this will be like our thorny hedge area, where we'll have food and wildlife food, and it'll be beautiful and create kind of a screen from our yard, which will be nice. This is the apricot tree. It'll move. This is my front yard. There's a tree in that big brown open spot. This is a plum tree that we just got, and it did not do so well in the heat. And we are hoping that now that it's got greenery, that it will come back. And it's a Santa Rosa. I don't know what that flower is. It just kind of came up, and it's beautiful, so we're letting it be. And then kind of this dirt line is where the annual garden will stop. I don't know if we're going to plant like blueberries or flowers or what here. And then this whole area will be grass. Right there, that area where that hydrangea is and the little red wagon. We're going to take all those rocks out of there and put in like a Mediterranean herb garden. And here we're working on, because this is going to be our grassy right in front of our house area. There's our house. We're going to espalier fruit trees along here and plant herbs like mints and lemon balms and some flowering things in here. We've got anemones. I don't know what that purple thing is, but it's beautiful. We have plantain in here and an artichoke. This is an espaliered plum tree. This is the first fruit tree we ever planted here. It was a gift as a housewarming present, and I absolutely love it. This is an Anjou pear. And then this is the area directly in front of our front window and in front of our mailbox. Oh, there's chamomile coming up. How cool is that? So we don't want to do espalier trees here. So we planted herbs like lemon balm and rosemary officinalis here, and some lupins. There is a different variety of rhubarb right here in the front, and I've always wanted these little orange lanterns. And so that's what we planted in here. I don't know, can you see that little orange lantern? There we go. And I'm so excited to have them. They're kind of a weed and taking over, but I'm really excited for them. This arbor here, a neighbor gifted me a wisteria plant, and so it's going to grow up this trellis. Yes, I know that wisteria are hard, but I have a plan to keep it intact, and I planted it so that she could see it and so that I could see it and we could both enjoy it. And then this is our, this is another flower. It's a rose. It's really pretty, that came in a pot, and it was free on Craigslist, so I took it. These are all rocks that we've just collected from neighbors getting rid of things, and we planted it with flowers. It's right along our driveway. There's hollyhocks and irises and gladiolas and other little random things through here. The wisteria plant, some coneflower in different colors. These snow somethings, alpine snow somethings, the moss roses again, and thyme. It's on the way to the mailbox, so planting herbs here is a way to make sure they get harvested every day. So we might remove the flowers, I don't know, and plant more herbs here. But I also really like the idea of planting the herbs in the garden right there. So this is part 2 of the homestead tour. Hope you enjoyed it and have a great afternoon.